Welcome back to Spiritual Wisdom, where we explore the timeless minds that shaped the world. In our last episode, we uncovered the brilliance of Al-Farabi, the philosopher of the virtuous city. Today, we turn the page to one of the brightest stars in the sky of Islamic thought, the incredible Avicenna, also known as Ibne Sinah. Now, when people talk about Islamic philosophy, Avicenna is a name that always comes up, and for good reason. He wasn't just a philosopher. He was a physician, a scientist, a logician, and a mystic. Think of him as a one-man university. His works were so influential that they remained standard textbooks in Europe for centuries. Imagine writing something that people still study 1,000 years later. Born in 980 CE in what is today Uzbekistan, Avicenna was a child prodigy. By the age of 10, he had memorized the Quran. By 16, he was practicing medicine. And get this, he claimed he never encountered a case he couldn't solve. Confidence or genius? Maybe both. His most famous medical text, the Canon of Medicine, or Al-Qanun fi al-Tibb, became the go-to reference for doctors all over the Islamic world and Europe well into the 17th century. But let's dig into his philosophy, which is where things get really interesting. Avicenna took the metaphysical ideas of Aristotle and the Neoplatonists and gave them a uniquely Islamic twist. One of his key philosophical contributions was his distinction between essence and existence. Sounds abstract? Let's break it down. According to Avicenna, the essence of a thing is what it is, a tree, a person, a star, but existence is whether that thing actually is in reality. In everything except God, essence and existence are separate. Only in God are they the same, meaning God's essence is to exist. This idea became hugely influential, especially in medieval Christian and Jewish thought. Another major concept he developed was the necessary existent, basically the idea that there must be a being whose existence is not dependent on anything else. Everything else in the universe exists because something caused it, but the necessary existent exists by necessity. And guess what? That's Avicenna's way of talking about God. Now, if you're wondering how Avicenna dealt with the relationship between the soul and the body, well, he had a fascinating thought experiment. He asked us to imagine a person suspended in air, cut off from all senses, with no memory or perception. Would that person still be aware of their own existence? Avicenna argued yes, and this became one of the earliest arguments. Later thinkers like Descartes would pick up on this, and you can see the roots of modern mind-body-bada. Let's not forget, Avicenna also tackled ethics and the purpose of life. For him, the highest form of human happiness was intellectual and spiritual, not just physical comfort or pleasure. He believed that through reason, meditation, and a virtuous life, the soul could ascend toward union with the divine. Sounds almost mystical, doesn't it? That's because Avicenna's later writings started to merge rational philosophy with Sufi ideas of inner purification and enlightenment. And speaking of merging, Avicenna's ideas weren't confined to one field. He saw knowledge as a web, not a bunch of separate boxes. Medicine, metaphysics, logic, psychology, it was all connected. For instance, in the Canon of Medicine, he explored how emotional and mental states could influence physical health, anticipating ideas in modern psychosomatic medicine. But even his critics had to take him seriously. That's how strong his arguments were. So what does Avicenna teach us today? He reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge, whether in science, medicine, or spirituality, doesn't have to be in conflict. In fact, it's most powerful when it's united. He also challenges us to think deeply about who we are, why we exist, and what kind of life leads to true happiness. Here's a thought for you. If you had to balance science and spirituality in your own life, what would that look like? Are they separate lanes or part of the same road? Thanks for tuning in to Rare Wisdom. In our next episode, we'll explore the dramatic clash between philosophy and theology through the eyes of Al-Ghazali, one of the most influential critics of philosophers like Avicenna. Trust me, it's going to be intense. So like, share, and subscribe.